Hey guys, it's me, Alex, and tonight's gonna be another video of a Ticci Toby ex-listener. So, yeah, I kind of already explained what I wanted to do at the end of my Jeff the Killer video I made, but I will explain it here again. So basically, you're just a normal person living your normal life, and one day you decide to take a walk in the woods at night, and you come in contact with Ticci Toby. Warning, there will be ticking in this video. I did decide that I was going to make him tick in the series, but I will slow the ticking down, like there won't be as much. So yeah. Anyways, let's get into it. It was night, and you were sitting in your bed, staring up at the ceiling. You looked over at your alarm clock and saw that it read 12:55. It was past midnight, and you haven't gone to bed. You laid down at 10, watched a couple movies until 11, and decided to go to sleep after that. Thinking that you'd be asleep in about a couple of minutes turned into almost 2 hours. You sighed as you got up and kicked your feet over your bed and got up. You threw on some slippers and started to walk outside where the cold air of the summer night hit your face. It wasn't too cold that you needed a jacket, but it was probably cold enough that it would be a good idea for you to bring a hoodie just in case if you did get cold. So you grabbed the one that was hanging closest to your door and started to walk out. You walked out into the woods that were near your house and followed a tiny trail. You sat on a log about half a mile up and just sat there, staring at the sky. The stars were really pretty, and you were at a big enough clearing where you could see a bunch of them. Luckily, it was a clear night, and you were able to fantasize yourself with the stars when you heard a stick snap. You turned your head in the direction that you heard the snap of the stick come from as you stood up, getting ready to run from whatever or whoever had disturbed your peace. When you stood up and started looking around, you didn't hear another sound, like the person knew that the thing knew that you were there. This started to freak you out a bit. There had been recent killings around, and you probably shouldn't have come out here unarmed. But of course, you being you, the sleep-deprived person that you were, you didn't bring anything to defend yourself with. It was just you, a hoodie, and a pair of slippers. What were you gonna do with a slipper, huh? Throw it at the person? Could be armed with a gun. Like, what could you do? So instead of just sticking around to find out who it was, you started to walk away. You first started to walk backwards when you ran into a tree, hitting your head hard. You fell to the ground, the pain piercing through your head as you went to go touch the back, feeling a wet, sticky, warm substance. When you brought your hand back, you saw that it was blood. Fucking great. You had split open your fucking skull on a fucking tree, you thought. As you looked at the blood, you realized that it was a lot more than you thought. You put your hand over the wound, applying some pressure, trying to stop the bleeding and make it clot up as fast as possible so you could get out of there and get proper help. But you ended up passing out from the loss of blood that you were gaining quickly. You didn't know what you hit your head on, but it definitely didn't feel like a tree. It was some kind of metal, maybe a nail or like something, but it wasn't a tree. You woke up a few hours later in a cabin. Weird. You don't know this cabin. You got up and went to go touch your head as the pain went when you realized that your head was bandaged. What the fuck? You thought. You got up and walked around the small room that you were in. It wasn't very big, just a bed with a comforter that you were sleeping on, a bedside table with a lamp and what looked to be a few or some papers on it, with a pair of orange goggles and what looks to be a face mask, probably. You didn't know. You looked around a bit more to see if you could find any, idea of whose house this might be. If it's one of your friends and they found you, or if it was your mom, or your dad, or whoever. But you had no luck. Soon, you decided to approach the door. As you opened it slowly, you started to hear sounds from the kitchen. It sounded like someone was cooking, but then you started to hear whistles and strange noises coming from the kitchen as well. You closed the door as you realized that you weren't alone. You took a deep breath as you opened the door and walked out to be faced by a boy around 18 years old, probably, about your age. He had short brown hair that was messy and was wearing a hoodie that had a blue collar and blue hood, and the rest of it was a mix of a light brown and a dark brown. He was wearing a pair of jeans and he had a hatchet on his hip. Great, you thought. I'm probably in the house of a murderer. As you looked around, you realized that the cabin was nice. There was a little fire in the fireplace, keeping the cabin warm, and there were two hatchets on the side. One had blood on it. Great, you were in the house of a murderer. When you looked back over to the man, he was staring at you. Oh, I'm glad to see you're awake. The boy stuttered out. You looked at him confused. Why did he stutter? And it looks like his hands were moving in a way like he wanted to grip something. You didn't pay much mind to it as you just stared at him, not knowing what to do. Oh, sorry, let me introduce myself. My name is Toby. Uh, you might know me as Ticci Toby. I've been on the news recently. Uh, Nice to meet you, he said while sticking out his hand, it shaking a bit as it looked to be uncontrollable. Sorry about that. I can't control what my body does. I have Tourette's. Uh, Basically, I stutter, sometimes, like that. And my body moves uncontrollably, and sometimes I'll also blurt out things that I don't mean. So if I cuss you out or tell you to leave, uh, don't pay mind to that. That's not me. It's my tics. You look at him. Ticci Toby. That did kind of ring a bell, but not really. You looked back over to the axe with the blood on it as he looked over at it as well, and his expression changed. Fucking hell, Toby. You forgot to clean off the blood off your fucking hatchet again. What is wrong with you? One sec. Let me take care of that. He walked over, picking up the hatchet with blood on it, and took a black rag and proceeded to clean the blood off of the end of the hatchet the best he could. You stood there, obviously in fear, because you didn't know what he was going to do with you. He looked at you as his neck twitched a bit and his hands started to do that grabby thing again. And he looked at you and saw that you were obviously afraid. Hey, I'm not going to hurt you. Uh, unless Sunderman wants you dead, then I kind of have to listen to him. But, but I'm not gonna hurt you. I was the one that fixed up your head for you. Sorry about giving you that little scare, by the way. I didn't mean to. There was a metal plate that you hit your head on that tree. We didn't put it there. Some guy that comes and cuts down trees does, but he's gone. We got rid of him a few years ago. You looked at him, obviously, more fear showing up in your eyes. Uh, sorry, I said too much. I should shut up now. Fucking hell, Toby. Run everything. You look at him as he starts to criticize himself. Obviously, he's young. I mean, barely an adult, just like you, and just trying to live while under the control of a man by the name of Slenderman. You've heard of him, but you always thought he was just some mystical fairy tale that people told to scare little kids to go to sleep. I mean, that's what you did when you babysat your aunt's kids. When they wouldn't go to sleep, you tell them that Slenderman would come and take them away, and that he wasn't very nice with children that didn't go to bed at their bedtime, and it would make them go to sleep. You looked at him, a bunch of questions forming in your mind. The first thing is, Slenderman's real? Hmm? Yeah. You didn't know that? He's like over 1,000 years old, but yeah, he's real. I mean, I wouldn't be working for him if he wasn't, and sure as hell wouldn't have others. Why? You seem upset by my mention of him. Did something happen? You look at him, and then you finally ask the question of, how old are you? I just turned 18 a couple months ago. Why? Yeah, I've been living out, out here alone for a few years now. I mean, I'm not fully alone. I mean, I have Hoodie and Masky who show up sometimes, and EJ and uh, Sally sometimes comes by. Uh, this isn't even my, like, actual home. I just come out here when I need space. You know, even killers need space. Here. come sit down. You're starting to look dizzy. You hesitate for a moment, but decide that it is probably best if you did sit down, because you were actually starting to feel dizzy. And so you walk over to the couch where he's sitting at, and you sit down next to him. And like he kind of like tells you to move like your head so he can check and see if like your bandage has bled through, or like to kind of check and see like if you need to change your bandage or something. Sorry to make you move again, but can you turn around for me? I want to check your bandage. I want to check and see if I need to uh, uh, put a new one on. You turn around and he proceeds to check to make sure that it hasn't bled through and everything. And he lets go of your head, and you turn around back to face him. And he just kind of like stares at you for a moment and then realizes he's staring and lets you know what's going to happen. Sorry for staring. Uh, so you hit your head pretty hard back there. So I think it's best if you stay here for the rest of the night, and I can take you back to the edge of the forest tomorrow morning when you wake up. Uh, I just don't want you to go out there like, well, uh, it's almost time for the proxies to go out anyway. I already did my routine, so I can stay inside, but I think it will be safe if you just stay in here. Uh, I also don't want you getting lost out there. So you think for a moment, and you eventually agree to stay, because obviously you don't want to have to go out there and then find your way back and possibly have, like, the possibility of dying, and also, like, you didn't want to get lost in the woods at, like, 3 o'clock in the morning. No, thank you. So Toby showed you to his room, to the room where you were in, which is his room, and he just told you that you could sleep in his room, and he'd sleep out in the living room on the couch. And you kind of just nodded your head and laid back down. And yeah. Alright, so I'm gonna end it there. I hope you enjoyed. Um, so, yeah. I don't really have anything to say. So, yep. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your morning, day, or night. Bye bye.